I love you. Have a good day. This life's been kind to me, and I've got to change. To stop taking it for granted. I should have looked at this view more. I'll do that from now on. I've got to get out of the habit of ignoring the small miracles in life. I only seem to pay attention when something is wrong, not when it's right. Even an elevator is a minor miracle. Someone invented this. I know consciously that there was a time when this technology didn't exist. It's just so hard to see beyond the present. I'm going to tell him how I feel. I don't want to lose where we've got to by not paying attention to it. Some of the patterns are worth keeping. Other routines are just how we fill our days. can't believe how lucky I've been, and I took it for granted. Things are okay, but they're not going anywhere. It's time to take control. I love that cafe. On warm evenings, sometimes I sit there with a glass of wine, waiting to catch Harry on his way back from work. We used to walk in the park together. We should do more of that. He's got to know how I feel about him. I love him so much. Patterns. The same start again. The same alarm tone that Harry can sleep through. This isn't what I imagined or wanted. Drifting through one day after another. Together but not aware. Something like that. I love this painting, and I can't remember the last time I really looked at it. Harry likes me in this t-shirt. I reread the same books time and again. It's comforting, I guess. It's good to have reference points in your life, some patterns. I don't want my life with Harry to change, but it will happen if I don't take control. I feel like I should try to break patterns. I usually use the bathroom first. Was that the first domino to fall, to change the future? Dun dun dun. Tea. A man takes the lead, Grandma would tell me. I guess I need to step up to the line. I've got a great thing here. She's a good woman at heart. Old-fashioned, but still, she's right. A man steps up to challenges. I'll ask Harry to marry me, husband and husband for the rest of our lives. I think maybe Grandma would be okay with it these days. Then again, maybe she wouldn't.
Naturally, as Will's grandmother, I knew Will since the first day he was born, of course. I will never forget that first moment in the hospital, when James, that's Will's father, handed me my grandson for the first time. He wriggled in his blue blanket, already a strong boy. James liked that punk thing in the 1980s, and looked a terrible mess to me. He ran 3 pubs in London for those sort of people. I would go over to babysit as often as I could. A child needs someone normal in their life. Sharon was always reading. She taught art history. Never really made much money. It's good for a young boy to be outdoors, but Will never really liked that when he was young. Will had to play by himself a lot. Sharon had complications at the birth, so he was never going to have brothers or sisters. There was always music playing when I got to the house. Some awful racket. Not the sort of thing a child should be hearing. I always turned it off. Sharon, Will's mother, broke up with James for 3 years at one point and took Will away to America, where she comes from. They had met through James's work. No wonder, really. James liked such strange books, full of horrible things. I remember him telling me about one with rats everywhere. I really don't see the appeal. I suppose I sound old-fashioned, but there are appropriate ways to raise a child. I only wanted Will to grow up happy and normal. I remember that night because Will had been unusually quiet all evening. He'd got into a fight at school. It started because a boy had been picking on a girl, calling her names because of her dark skin. Will had tried to stop the other boy, but he had been punched in the stomach. I asked him if he had cried, and he said yes. I told him that big boys don't cry. I remember him asking me then, what do big boys do when they're sad? I told him that when he grew up, he would be a good man, able to stand up for others. I suppose I didn't answer his question. I told him that he was right to try to stop the bully. Now I think about it, I don't think he was very comforted. When he was going to bed, Will tripped on a toy. I remember carrying him. He was trying so hard not to cry. He was so small in my arms. I've never forgotten that feeling. I have so many little memories making up our lives together. It's odd what sticks with you, though. I took him to bed to read him a story. He went through a phase of being scared of ghosts. Sharon would buy him ghost storybooks, and he had that pop-up haunted house book too. I had to check the room for ghosts before he would sleep. I always looked carefully to reassure him. I remember promising him, while I looked, that I would always protect him. I would always be there for him. I'm sure he thought I just meant about ghosts, but I meant it for everything. I always remember that feeling. I wonder if I knew his life wouldn't be easy. I wasn't reading a new ghost book. I was reading him Grimm's fairy tales. The old stories are much better than these new ones. That night was a strange story called The Ungrateful Son. It went something like this. Once upon a time, a man and his wife were eating a roast chicken for dinner. When the man saw his father, a very old man, walking along the road towards them, the man didn't want to share, and so he hid the chicken out of sight. The man's father arrived, bid them good day, and continued on his way. The man was very happy, and so told his wife to put the chicken on the table again. But the chicken had transformed into a giant toad, which leapt onto the face of the man. The toad would never leave, and when his wife wanted to help, she was so afraid of it that she dared not go near. The man had to feed the toad every day from then on, or it would bite his face, and he never rested for the remainder of his life. That was a very strange story. Will was asleep before I finished it, which was probably a good thing. I felt strange after reading it. I wondered about whether I really could keep him safe. The world is so unpredictable. I would do my best like all good grandmothers. I could still see him sleeping there now, like it was only yesterday. I never thought it would be easy, but I had raised James, so I thought I would be ready for anything from my grandson Will. The world changes so quickly. I remember the family visiting me when Will was a teenager. I like to go to the seaside at Brighton. They sell these glass animals there, handmade. I started collecting them years ago, and I still get a new one every time I visit. After James had grown up, I went to New Zealand to visit distant family over there. It was a very long trip in those days, but it's important to keep in touch. We're all so spread apart in our lives now, don't you think? My husband Robert died when Will was young. He was a good writer, but I do wish he had tried a bit harder. Still, I loved him. Do you know Al Martino's Here in My Heart? He had such a lovely voice. It was playing when Robert first kissed me. Robert would hum it to me sometimes. It was only a matter of time back then before Diana divorced Charles. She'd done that interview, and we all knew it was coming. Sometimes people treat us old people like we have nothing to say, so I started the conversation. I see that Diana is in the news again. It seems like she's never out of it these days. It's about time she stopped keeping everyone waiting.
I think it's sad. She was bullied into all of this from the beginning.
I could have handled the rest of the conversation better. I lost my temper a bit. Sharon didn't join in, but it wasn't hard to imagine what an American might think of it all. James didn't help. He has always been so obtuse in his views. I wish I'd never even started the conversation. They didn't want to hear my opinion. "Excuse me, I'm going to make some tea," I said. No one offered to help. I didn't really want tea. I don't think they wanted it either. But I needed to do something. I know it seems like a small thing, but maybe it was the first time that I felt apart from Will. I was used to James, and of course Sharon being difficult, but not Will like that. It's not good to stick out like a sore thumb. You have to fit in. It's easier to be different now, but all he could see was the need of one person, at the risk to everything else. I didn't have any choice in my time, but I had a quiet life. It was good enough. I was worried about him, getting all these views. It could get him into trouble. I was scared for Will. I didn't want him to stand out and end up worse off. I stood there, waiting for the tea to brew. And I cried for him. He was young, but he was old enough too. He was going to make mistakes, and I wouldn't be able to stop him. I knew something had been broken that day between Will and I. I took a deep breath and pulled myself together. It doesn't help anything to let others see you get upset. I've lived alone since a little time after Will was born. That was when Robert passed away. I missed him, of course. Yet it was tolerable until then. But then, after we disagreed, I felt so distant from them all. It was terrible. My generation has different values. Oh, goodness, I know that. But I very much believe that they are good. I wasn't prepared to accept that Will wasn't going to talk to me anymore. His views, I felt he was putting his future at risk. Those views, liberalism and such like, I knew he would change his mind as he got older. What damage might he do to his life before he saw that you need to fit in to get along? I didn't know what to expect that Christmas. I just wanted us to all be close again. But I was nervous. Doing Christmas by yourself takes a lot of work, but I like to keep busy. Will went off to university, but I clearly remember the Christmas that he and the family came home. It's important to keep in touch with your friends. We didn't have the internet back then. I wish people still wrote letters. I wanted the house to look perfect. Will was going to bring a girlfriend, Sarah, and I wanted her to get the right impression. My family arrived just as the Christmas lunch was ready. It was perfect timing. Sarah was lovely, of course. She was a bit shy back then, I think. We talked about her university courses. She really had no reason to be nervous. James is like his father, really. A wonderful boy. But I do wish he would apply himself more. Did I tell you that Sharon and James split up for 3 years once? Will spent the time in America with her family. It was hard for me not seeing him. He was 10 and, like most boys, he wasn't interested in writing many letters. Will and I hadn't spoken for months. I didn't know if he understood that when we disagreed, it was only because I cared so much about him. Will was growing up to be such a fine man. He doted on Sarah.
Thanks.
It filled me with pride and hope to see him that day. He was becoming the man I had hoped he would be. With Sarah, I hoped he would be on track to a normal life. But that was the last time I saw her. The next summer, I went to visit Will at university. I always like to arrive on time. It's just polite. So I had left plenty of time for the drive down to see him. I ended up being rather early, and it was my first visit to the campus, so I went for a walk. The old buildings there are lovely. So many excited young people about the place, and such beautiful girls, all full of pep. I was also hoping I might see Sarah again. Going to university wasn't normal in my day like it is now. I never had the chance to go and improve myself. At first, I saw Will from a short distance before he saw me, and I couldn't make out what he was doing. Then I saw that he was holding hands with a man. And then they kissed right there, out in the open. He went and did that after everything I had tried to teach him. I knew that all those liberal views would get him in trouble. I left right away. I couldn't think of a single thing I could say to him. Will hadn't seen me. I simply had no idea how I could be expected to act like everything would be okay for him. He was so young. He didn't see the trouble he could get into if he kept doing that sort of thing. The university suddenly seemed like a place full of smug, self-satisfied people. Ugly. All those petty children doing whatever they wanted, ignoring the responsibility of the freedoms my generation got for them. After everything I had done for him, he was doing that, putting himself in danger. I felt so angry with him and with everyone there. That sort of thing. It all just feels wrong to me. Sorry, but that's just the way I feel about this. I barely saw Will for the next few years. I couldn't bring myself to talk to him. I suppose it was silly of me. After university, he went travelling, seeing the world. I stayed at my house. I said that my husband Robert had died when Will was young, didn't I? It's sometimes hard not to live in the past when you have so much time to yourself. I had such hopes for Will, and all the things that he would be when he was a man. I remember so clearly before he changed, when he was just a happy little boy. He probably never really understood how much I loved him when he was growing up. But life goes on. I was in the garden, Things do have a habit of getting overgrown if you leave them too long. Will had been travelling the world. I would very occasionally get a postcard from somewhere foreign. This was before he went into the travel journalism. I worried about him so much. He never seemed to want to settle back then. I don't know if he was happy. Everything had to be changing all the time for him. The doorbell rang just as I was finishing weeding. I was going to answer it, but snagged my foot in the grass and twisted my ankle. It hurt like blazes, and I lay there feeling like a complete fool. There was no way I was going to be able to stand. But the doorbell had gone again. I called out for help. I heard footsteps around the side of the house. Will had come to visit after coming back from travelling. I had been so cold to him, never reaching out, but that didn't matter to him.
It's okay.
He looked after me anyway. Inside the man he was, I could see for the first time the same kind boy I knew before. I don't claim that I'll understand some of his choices,
Let's get you inside.
but I had missed something. Distracted by just one part of him, I missed that he was the kind, strong, loving man I had always wanted him to be. The best sort of man. He was even kind to a fool like me. I'll never forget that.
Grandma is from a different generation. She loves me, I know that. She just expresses herself really badly sometimes. She's trying hard, though. I should call her later. She kept on telling me what a real man should be like. That's not me. But I think I'm okay. I'm the man I grew up to be. And now I'm thinking about marrying Harry. But is this me? Us? Now and forever? I love Harry, but he just wants to be here, in these routines. Are we two different people? He kept a place for me here while I explored the world. That's good, right? That's love, isn't it? Time to get ready. Love isn't unique. It's common. I was in love with Sarah once. But that changed in the end. Love ends. All these little things, just meaningless stuff every day, whittling away at how we feel. I don't deserve Harry.
It was the first day at university. I was terrified. My parents drove me up to the student village. The back of the car was stuffed with everything that I owned. I was faking a look of confidence. I doubt anyone noticed. Probably everyone else was too. Paul always liked Will. I doubt my biological dad would have. Looking at all my things in the boot of the car, I never knew I had so much stuff. I went inside first. I had a room to myself in a shared house, and we already had the keys. I don't remember where we got them from. Mum or Paul must have picked them up from the admin person, I guess. Walking into my dorm room for the first time, I kind of remember how it felt for me. I never thought back then how it would have felt for Mum and Paul. Soon they were going to drive away and go home to an empty house. Just a few more boxes, and their kid wouldn't be living with them anymore. I wasn't paying much attention to unloading. My room had a really thin nylon carpet and the cheapest mattress the university could find, I think, and I didn't care at all. It was my own space. You remember how that felt, having control for the first time. I felt terrified, but excited too, though mostly just lost. I didn't realise everyone felt the same. I wondered if anyone was going to be interested in me. I suppose we all felt ugly in some way. It's a strong word, but I thought everyone was beautiful except me. I felt average, but I wasn't. None of us are, really. I was trying hard to be something unique, but felt so very, very average. And a freak at the same time. Like everyone else knew how to fit in naturally. It wasn't fireworks when I first saw him, but I thought he was cute. Well, kind of sexy. Actually, cute's the right word. I didn't really think about sexy back then, I guess. It's funny to think back, like this, now. It was really busy for those first few weeks. Will must have been around at lectures, but I was caught up in meeting housemates and learning the basics of living away from home. The next time I remember seeing him was through the window of the Union Bar. I remembered he'd looked back at me on that first day, and it made me smile. Britpop was still doing pretty well. Good music, Blur, Pulp, that kind of thing, and Oasis weren't just repeating themselves then. Not that the Union was playing much of those. Fridays at the Union were always the same. Crowds of people, the windows steaming up completely, and sticky floors. I kind of miss it. After I'd seen him at the window, I wanted to talk to him. Maybe more. I pretty much went on the hunt. It's tricky when you're not very tall and the lights are low. It was hard to spot Will in the crowd. I think I was changing fast. It'd only been a couple of weeks since I got to uni, but I felt very different. Will always gave me a good vibe. I know that sounds weird, but there it is. He just felt like a good person. He was too. Considering it was the first thing I ever said to him, it's funny that I have no idea what the conversation was about that I butted into. I think I was pretty obvious in my intentions. It was hard to talk over the music. We had a couple of drinks, and then I remember pulling him outside. You know the feeling, the rush of anticipation? I was getting that so much. The cold night air hit me, and I felt a little dizzy. And that was when he first kissed me. We went to the cinema for our first proper date. We had seats in the middle of the cinema. It didn't help my nerves much having everyone nearby. We sat there fidgeting, wanting to touch but scared to. I kept looking sideways to see if he was looking at me, but tried not to move my head too much in case he wasn't looking and noticed that I was. I shifted to rest my leg against his. It was awkward and definitely not the natural and subtle thing I was going for. When I went to hold his hand, he moved his away, but I think that was by accident. The film had that guy in it who always acts crazy but then does lots of action kick-ass stuff. We weren't really paying attention, I think. It was like everything else faded out. I put my hand on his leg, he turned to me and did that shy smile of his. He put his hand on the side of my face, just gently on the skin, turning me to face him. He closed his eyes and kissed me, placing his lips softly onto mine. We sat with our fingers locked together for the rest of the film, and when it was over we walked out, still holding hands. As we were going though, I had this weird, prescient feeling. I could feel I was falling in love fast for the first time, but it was so strong, it would end. Will always gave the impression of confidence, like he always had a grand plan. I wish I knew if he saw that end coming too, like I felt it was. I don't know if that would have made how it went any easier. I spent the next day finally doing the unpacking that I'd been putting off. I'd done my clothes and the essentials, but there were other bits to be done. I brought my first ever toy to uni with me. I know it seems weird for a woman to do that, but it brings back happy memories. It wasn't always easy with my biological dad leaving, but Mum and I, and my brother Andy, we had fun. My bunny makes me remember that. My mum gave me a tasseled cloth scarf to remind me of home. She's a right hippie. I think I brought my old books as a comfort thing. I didn't really expect to read them at uni. They were just nice to have around. There were some candles my mum had given me. Will was coming over later that week and I was falling for him, so I thought I'd make it more cosy in there. Is it weird to tell you this? I kept on changing my mind. It shouldn't have mattered so much, but I wanted the place to look nice. I must have spent ages just shifting stuff around. The little choices are important. I guess it didn't make any difference really, but I was happy when I was sure I'd got it right. I wanted to feel comfortable when Will came over. Will and I, it felt like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, and just as likely to burn us both as to make us happy. But what a lovely way to burn. That Christmas, I met Will's family. We'd been together for 4 months. Do you remember me there? I was so worried I was going to say something and embarrass myself. I was much more shy back then, and I was really in love with Will, and I wanted to make sure I didn't mess anything up. I kept on wanting to touch him. There was this really good chemistry with him, but with family around, it didn't seem right. I remember he lightly touched the back of my neck as he poured me some wine, and it sent tingles into my stomach. The meal went well, I think. I think I looked a bit too grungy for the occasion. I felt really self-conscious. I loved him so much, but that feeling I had wouldn't go away, that it was all going to end. That Christmas Day, though, I felt like we had a chance. Things were going well, but over the months, I felt the relationship changing. We often put on music to fall asleep to. Do you remember Enigma? Monks chanting and electronic stuff. We'd put that on a lot and just let ourselves drift off to the music. We listened to a lot of Portishead. Even now when I listen to them, I remember being back in that room, in his arms. We would cuddle up in bed and watch TV or movies. There was a transgender character on Coronation Street. We talked about that for a long time. Being straight, I'd never thought much about my sexuality. I never felt that I needed to. I was me. Will was just himself too, and I just kind of accepted that. It's funny to tell you this now, but I was never jealous of Harry. You'd think I would be, but I loved Will so much. I just wanted him to be happy. I think we both could feel that an end was going to be inevitable. But we still were in love. We were in love, but lonely too. It felt like we were the only people in the world. Maybe I didn't mind Will getting closer to Harry because it felt like our own love was too much for two people. Will and me were studying English. Harry was on the course too. I'd seen the way Harry and Will looked at each other. There was a spark there. I know some people would feel jealous, but I don't know. Being around Harry made Will happy. I'll never forget that time, seeing their friendship grow. As the months went by, we went out less. We would go out to meet up with Harry and a couple of other friends, but it was mostly just Will and me. Those memories will always be a warm place for me. It might seem odd to you, but it was my suggestion. I told Will to ask out Harry. I loved him. I knew it would make us all happy for Will to have Harry in his life. It was something he needed to do. I feel lucky. How many times in your life will you be sure you've helped a person find their true love? Though it was rough. For a long time, I wished that true love had been me. Let me paint a picture for you of the end. Will had been seeing both me and Harry at the same time for about 6 months. I can see you think that sounds weird, but it really wasn't. We were all open, safe, and honest about it. The picture. It was October, and we met in the basement of the Royal Oak. Smoking was still allowed in pubs, and the faint smell clung to everything. The chairs were covered with a tapestry weaving type of fabric that was worn away from years of use. The basement was crowded with heavy oak furniture, with the wood grain sealed away under layers of old varnish. I knew what I was going to say to Will. Before I went to university, a friend asked me what love is. I told her that love was being able to tell a person that you never wanted to see them again. Even though it broke your heart to do it, you would tell them to leave you because it was right. I was quite happy with that answer. Like love was something from a Shakespearean tragedy. I don't know why they asked me. I'd never been in love when I said that. I didn't think I'd have to do it myself one day. I didn't expect to be right. We need to talk.
Oh?
This needs to change.
You mean us?
I feel like I'm getting in your way.
You're not. This is good.
It is good, but it's not right. It's not forever.
Isn't this what you want?
I'm happy with you. I love you, but this isn't about me.
I love you too. I want to be with you.
I know. But that doesn't mean you should be.
Is this it? Can I do anything differently?
No. You've not done anything wrong.
I don't want this.
Me either. But it's right.
I love you.
I love you too. I loved him so much. It hurt so badly to let him go. I never forgot him. I never stopped loving him. Love doesn't just stop. It's not like a room you just walk out of. Our love, the warmth of it, became a memory I cherish. I've never loved anyone like that again. It took me 2 years to get over Will. I saw him falling deeper and deeper in love with Harry. Maybe we all could have kept on dating together the way we were. I didn't think of that as an option at the time. I don't know if what I felt was a proper depression, but it was definitely a really bad time for me. I just worked really hard all of the time and got a great degree grade from it, so that was something good for me from it all. I never really forgot that feeling of love for Will, but eventually I dated again and fell in love again. The love I have now, it's wonderful, and not the same as what Will and I had. Love is unique every time, and that's a good thing. The way Will and I were together was something amazing, a special time that changed me. It didn't matter that it wasn't forever, it was right exactly how it was.
I loved Sarah. I still do, but not the same as I did then. We go for drinks a few times a year. She's wonderful. It's easy to see why we dated. I felt awful when we broke up, but it was right. I loved two people, and she saw a future for me that I couldn't. She's smarter than me, I guess. I wouldn't be here now without her. I've got to remember to appreciate this time more. All the tiny moments make up our lives. It's easy to lose track of the big picture. What's that, Harry? Yeah, I'm spraying my pits while thinking about proposing to you. Maybe I won't tell him this bit. Sure, we're in patterns, but that's not bad. I love him. That's wonderful enough without every day being action-packed. And there are bigger adventures beyond marriage. We could start a family. Kids. Wow. That could be good, actually. Maybe I'll leave that conversation to another day, eh? One thing at a time. Shit. What if I propose and he says no? Am I going too fast? I think Harry wants a family. We'll talk about it. I think it would be good. The most important day of my life ahead. I'll need these. Forth into the undiscovered country. I love you. Have a good day. This life's been kind to me, and I've got to change. To stop taking it for granted. I should have looked at this view more. I'll do that from now on. I've got to get out of the habit of ignoring the small miracles in life. I only seem to pay attention when something is wrong, not when it's right. Even an elevator is a minor miracle. Someone invented this. I know consciously that there was a time when this technology didn't exist. It's just so hard to see beyond the present. I'm going to tell him how I feel. I don't want to lose where we've got to by not paying attention to it. Some of the patterns are worth keeping. Other routines are just how we fill our days. I can't believe how lucky I've been, and I took it for granted. Things are okay, but they're not going anywhere. It's time to take control. I love that cafe. On warm evenings, sometimes I sit there with a glass of wine, waiting to catch Harry on his way back from work. We used to walk in the park together. We should do more of that. He's got to know how I feel about him. I love him so much.
We loved to feed the ducks on a Sunday. We worked all through the week, and Saturdays we were too tired to do much. But Sundays were our time. That was in the end of the summer, but it was beautiful in the winter too. It was away from everything else. It was our place to be together. This whole place makes me think of him. He loved ducks. They always made him smile. It was something in the way they walked. And then one day, he was gone. The crash investigators don't know whose fault it was. I just can't get myself to feel that it matters. He was driving, and now he's... They took him to hospital. Someone called me, but I don't remember who. And I don't remember how I got to the hospital. He was dead when I arrived. Well-worn books. Some of them he read again and again. He told me he would remember these forever. His toothbrush. All these things, these reminders of our time together. I never thought I'd be here, wanting them gone. When friends come to visit me, they speak to me in a quiet voice, as if a loud sound might startle me. They ask about the missing objects. I say, I'm going for a minimalist look. They nod and give me a strange smile, but I know they don't believe me. They know the reminders hurt too much. I've been walking more since he died. I've been trying to get away from the memories to find something new, but everywhere I go, I see things that make me think of him. The car was barely damaged in the accident. It was just a knock. Twisting his neck the wrong way. The insurers asked if I wanted to repair the car. But I couldn't speak to answer. He once told me that you could judge how much money there is in an area by the state of the street lamps. Something about the style and the freshness of the paint. I don't remember. I can't face going to restaurants yet. I don't want a table for one. I decided to stay inside more. Keep to the inside. I can control what's in here. But even at work there are reminders. I need this space to be clear, so I can be free. He'd want me to be happy, but I can't be. Not living like this. We had the rest of our lives. I had his life, but he won't have mine. I don't understand any of this. I can't stand how I feel inside right now. Something has to change. Everything has to go. I'll clear it all away and start again. I'm nearly there. It's all gone. He's gone. But he's not. I can't get rid of him. Why won't he leave me alone? I'm different now. He changed me. I feel the space he's left inside me. But it's okay. It's his shape. That's going to be part of me that I carry forever. Denying that would be killing him again. One short life together. That was all we got. I wouldn't swap this feeling for anything, if it meant I had to lose the memory of his love too. I'm going to read every one of his books. He'd hug me now, laugh at me for crying, then probably burst into tears and start laughing at himself too. It's okay to long for him still, but I know it's okay to live again too. This might be all there is. Just this one life. I don't know, but I was lucky to meet him. And to love him.
I'll never forget him. He reached out to me when I'd pushed him away. When he was small, I'd looked after him. But in the end, he looked after me when I needed him. He came to visit me often over the next few years. He showed me a whole world I had never seen before.
Okay, so this is the mouse. Huh. Yeah, so you can use this to click on things. Yeah, this bit's called the cursor. Yeah, where the arrow is. No, yeah, move it up there.
The world was changing, and he was changing, becoming more mature. And then you came to see me. And then you told me what had happened.
It's one of those strange things. I had just been thinking about Will. We kept in touch a little, then a few years later became friends again when he was working based out of London. It felt good to have him in my life again. He talked about you both often, and his life in general. He told me how happy he was. And then you called me. Hello? He was happy at the end.
He loved you both so much. I still keep on thinking I'll see him again, or that he's walking beside me just in the corner of my eye. It's silly, really. I was angry. Angry he was gone, that he'd been taken, but I was wrong. He wasn't taken. He had already been given to us. We had him in our lives. We could love him. And we always will. After we had talked, I went back to the park, to the place where Will and I had spent so much time together. They had shared fragments of his life with me that I had never known. I felt at peace. Talking with them, even without Will, I felt I wasn't so alone. They carry him with them too. I just needed to let myself see that. Sometimes we only get to spend a little time with the ones that we love the most. I wasn't ready to accept that. But this is my life now. Without him. I still miss him. But it's enough that, briefly, we walk together.